Okay, we're going to go through a recreate of our role APAR that we believe we have. And what we're going to do is we're going to identify a user, and the user in our TIM system has one static role that gives them an Active Directory account. It's called AD all. So we go back into AD, look at our one user, we'll refresh our Active Directory. We've just reconned it in, and this user here identified is a member of only one group. Okay, the one provisioning policy in TIM makes them a domain user and gives them this common group here. Now, what we're going to show is that when we modify user roles, the provisioning action and the workflows doesn't seem to work when multiple add modifies are done in the same provisioning request. So let's go look at the role first, and we'll show how we have it set up. We're going to give this user an AD role. It's a one-to-one relationship. So AD role 1 will give you group 1 membership inside of Active Directory, and vice versa. When we remove it, it'll also deprovision the user membership. Okay, we look at the completed request here, and the completed request is a success for the user modify. We go back into Active Directory and we refresh that, and we go back into AD, look at our user, and we see here that our user now has an additional group membership. This is the one-to-one relationship. Give them the role, gives them the group membership in there. It's a mandatory attribute. It is tied to a provisioning policy, and the service is set to correct non-compliance. So now we'll go back out here, and we're going to go to our TIM user here, and we're going to modify the user again, and this time we're going to give them a second role, and we're going to add a couple of attributes to the user's role, and you'll see that it'll remove one and give them another. So we're going to go to the role. We are going to delete the AD role 1, which should get rid of the membership we just gave them. We're going to give them number 2, and then in here we're just going to specify 2 static roles that do absolutely nothing, and I think we called them role 1 blank and role 2 blank. So these are the 2 that we're going to do, and we go ahead and we'll submit this through. Now, the role 2 was added, should give them the secondary group membership that we saw when we did in the first one, and the removal of AD role 1 should remove that one. So let's see what happens here. We look at our request. We do a refresh of our user's request, and we can see here that the user data change was completed. We have the modify person. Look at here of our attributes. Here we had role 1. Here we have role 2, blank 1, blank 2. Enforcement should have removed AD role 1 and given role 2's membership. So let's go look and see what happened inside of AD. We'll refresh our Active Directory. We'll go back to our AD. Find our user, look at our membership, and we can see here the user is absolutely correct. It's a one-to-one relationship. So far, no problem. Now, let's reverse this. Let's get rid of AD role 1 group 2 and add number 1 back. And we're going to get rid of some of those common roles. So we go back in here, go to change our user. Our user is the same person. One-to-one relationship of modifying works. We're going to get rid of this one. We're going to get rid of this one. And we're going to add the AD role 1. Should get rid of the role 2 now because it's not in there anymore. And we are going to submit that. Go back to view our request. We'll see that our request is completed here. Okay, we have our completed request. Go back into Active Directory and refresh. We go back in here and look at our user. We look at the membership, and here's where you can see the problem. The role, AD role group 2 and AD role group 1 were auto-provisioned by the role for the person that was added. When you add them and remove them one at a time, not a problem for the TIM server and the workflow. But when you do more than one, at a time, it has a problem, and the enforcement is not correct here. So if we come in here and look at this user, they got 2 Active Directory group memberships. Inside of Tim, that user, if we look at the attributes that are associated to them, that user only has 1. And if we look here, we have AD role 1, role blank 2, which has nothing tied to it. AD role 2 granted the user AD role 2 group membership, and they still have it, as you can see here in Active Directory, and they should not. Okay, let's go into Tim server now, and what we'll do is we'll remove AD role blank. Should reinforce the policy, right? A change to a person or the policy triggers the workflow. So this should modify that user, and it should get rid of AD role 2 in Active Directory. We go back in here and look at our request, view all request. We've successfully done the modify for the user data change. We come into Active Directory and we look at that user again. And we see here that the group membership remains the same. The evaluation of the user has not removed this. It needs to. It has not. It's mandatory. Go back into Tim one last time. And what we're going to do now for this user is we're going to remove both roles. So now, removing role 1 should get rid of group 1 as well. Okay, so far this has not happened as it's expected. Right now, the user should have no additional group memberships in Active Directory where our auto provisioning gave them to them. Our removal of those roles should now get rid of it as well. We can see the user data change was complete. The entity operation defines that the only role they'll have is this AD all role. Role 1 removed. The removal of AD role 1 should trigger the workflow and should get rid of that. If we look at our Active Directory here and refresh this, and when we go into our AD and look at our user, we'll see here that membership now is correct. It removed it. That's how it should have done it when we removed the first role and the second one. Doesn't. It's a bug in the server. We need to fix that.